Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things I personally find intriguing enough for me to bring to you. The source of this information comes from the smart device application On This Day, the icon of which is shown as cutoff prevention at the beginning and end of each episode, or you can check it out over there. The music in the background is Puzzle by RetroVision, which I found on the YouTube channel No Copyright Sounds, aka NCS. Look over there for the logo. For actual links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the underbar. Now let's get on with the show, shall we? Today's Wednesday, aka Wednesday, June 29th, 2016. In 2014, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant self-declared its caliphate in Syria and northern Iraq. In 2012, a derecho, which is a widespread, long-lived windstorm, struck the eastern United States, causing the deaths of 22 people and power outages for millions of others. In 2007, Apple Inc. released its first mobile phone, the iPhone. In 2006, during Hamdan vs. Rumsfeld, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that President George W. Bush's plan to try Guantanamo Bay detainees in military tribunals violated U.S. and international law. Of all the idiotic. In 2002, naval clashes between South and North Korea led to the deaths of 6 South Korean sailors and the sinking of a North Korean vessel. In 1995, the Sampoong department store collapsed in the Seocho district of Seoul, South Korea, causing the deaths of 501 people and the injury of 937 others. Also in 1995, Space Shuttle program STS-71 mission using Space Shuttle Atlantis docked with the Russian space station Mir for the first time. In 1976, the Seychelles became independent from the United Kingdom. In 1975, Steve Wozniak, aka The Woz, tested his first prototype Apple I computer. In 1974, Mikhail Baryshnikov defected from the Soviet Union to Canada while on tour with the Kirov Ballet. Also in 1974, Isabel Perón was sworn in as the first female president of Argentina. Her husband, President Juan Perón, had delegated responsibility due to weak health and died 2 days later. In 1972, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the case of Furman v. Georgia that arbitrary and inconsistent imposition of the death penalty violated the 8th and 14th Amendments and constituted cruel and unusual punishment. In 1956, the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956 was signed, officially creating the United States Interstate Highway System. In 1945, Carpathian Ruthenia, which I keep pronouncing Carpe Diem Rutabaga, was annexed by the Soviet Union. In 1928, the Outer Bridge Crossing and Goethals Bridge in Staten Island, New York were both opened. In 1927, the first test of Wallace Turnbull's controllable pitch propeller occurred. Also in 1927, the Bird of Paradise, a U.S. Army Air Corps Fokker trimotor, completed the first trans-Pacific flight from mainland United States to Hawaii. In 1922, France granted 1 kilometer squared at Vimy Ridge, quote, freely and for all time to the government of Canada the free use of the land exempt from all taxes, end quote. In 1915, the North Saskatchewan River flood of 1915 became the worst flood in Edmonton history. In 1895, Duke Horvars burned their weapons as a protest against conscription by the Tsar's Russian government. In 1889, Hyde Park and several other Illinois townships voted to be annexed by Chicago, forming the largest United States city in area and second largest in population. In 1888, George Edward Gorard recorded Handel's Israel in Egypt onto a phonograph cylinder, which was thought for many years to be the oldest known recording of music. In 1881, in Dusan, Muhammad Ahmed declared himself to be the Mahdi, which is the Messianic Redeemer of Islam. In 1880, France annexed Tahiti. In 1874, Greek politician Charles Trikoupis published a manifesto in the Athens Daily Karaui entitled, quote, Who's to Blame, end quote, in which he laid out his complaints against King George. Trikoupis was elected Prime Minister of Greece the next year. In 1864, 99 people were killed in Canada's worst railway disaster near St. Helier, Quebec. In 1776, Father Francisco Palau founded Mission San Francisco de Assis in what is now present-day San Francisco. Also in 1776, the first privateer battle of the American Revolutionary War was fought at Turtle Gut Inlet near Cape May, New Jersey. And in 1613, the Globe Theatre in London burnt to the ground. Births: Gary Busey, 1944, Haley Smith, 1925. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. Don't forget to rate 5 thumbs and subscribe. For your dose of passive and Staley, I am Mayo Xander, and you are you. Toodles!